I'll live with that for the rest of my life.
Today on Investigate TV Plus, a former flight attendant haunted by an air disaster she survived more than 30 years ago makes it her mission to advocate for the youngest airline passengers. I'm Lee Zurich.
And I'm Tisha Powell. We examine the push to ban lap babies on commercial aircraft and why federal regulators have yet to make a change.
Plus, women raising awareness and changing perceptions about heart disease.
I guess they told me, I sat up and I said, well, at least I got you guys out of sled pushes.
The warning signs she says she ignored before her cardiac arrest at a gym. And we show you the device that saved her life.
Plus, a new mother helps pioneer a field of heart care for adults, overcoming the challenges of their childhood conditions.
In-depth stories that inform and inspire. You're watching Investigate TV Plus. The fasten seatbelt light comes on and every passenger on board a commercial plane buckles up, except for the smallest and most vulnerable flyers. Current FAA regulations allow parents to hold children under the age of 2 in their laps, even as the agency says unexpected turbulence is the leading cause of pediatric injuries on planes.
Many experts agree babies and toddlers are safest flying secured in an approved child restraint system or device, and they say change is long overdue.
Reporter Kristen Crowley brings us the story of one former flight attendant who lived through the worst case scenario.
This wasn't just an emergency, it was the worst crisis.
It's been more than 30 years, but for Jan Brown, it is still hard to relive that day.
Captain Haynes said, "We've lost all hydraulics."
Hearing those words, she says, her whole world changed.
I kept thinking, hopefully we're going to get to Earth in one piece, and I don't know what's going to happen then.
In July 1989, Brown was the lead flight attendant on board United Airlines Flight 232 when it crash-landed in Iowa, spinning down the runway and bursting into flames.
I could hear all that shrieking metal. It was things you've never heard before and you hope you never hear again.
During the plane's final moments in flight, Brown says she was responsible for preparing passengers for impact. She told parents with children seated in their laps to put them on the floor, cushioned with blankets and pillows. She says that was airline procedure.
The minute I said it, I thought, that is the most ludicrous thing I've ever said in my life. I mean, it's like, what, and hope for the best?
More than 100 passengers died, including one lap baby, 22-month-old Evan Chow. Brown says his mother ran into her while she was still searching for her son.
She looked up at me and she said, "You told me to put my baby on the floor, and I did, and he's gone." And just like now, I started getting feeling back, and I thought, I'll live with that for the rest of my life.
In 2003, the Federal Aviation Administration changed its brace position recommendations. During emergency situations, adults are now advised to hold on to children. But many experts say that still puts infants at risk of injury or death.
The most loving mother or father cannot possibly hold on to their child when those G-forces become so great, either in a crash landing or in a severe turbulence incident.
You're going to crush the child, or the child is going to fly off before you can crush him and be injured or killed.
Since that fateful day, Brown, now retired, has been fighting for change.
What's your reaction that all these years after that, parents, people are still allowed to hold their child on their lap when they fly?
It's egregious, number one. The fact that they allow it gives people the assumption that it's safe.
According to a 2019 analysis of in-flight injuries involving children, infants held on laps made up more than a third of the 400 cases reviewed.
Just because they're under the age of 2 and can't speak for themselves doesn't mean that someone shouldn't be speaking up for these children.
Sarah Nelson, head of the nation's largest flight attendants union, has lobbied for support at the federal level, advocating for a seat for every soul.
and we must ensure there's always a safe seat for even our smallest passengers.
The debate over the policy has reached Congress.
Look, I don't think this is the right rule.
We could probably talk about working together, Senator Vance, to talk to the airlines about maybe selling a seat at half price so that families could actually afford to have a separate seat with the car seat for their children.
Nelson says many parents don't understand the risks. In 2021, the National Transportation Safety Board said there is widespread consensus among agencies, including the American Academy of Pediatrics and the CDC, that children are safest properly restrained in their own seat. The FAA, the federal agency with the power to issue a regulation mandating that, declined to speak on camera, but sent us a statement saying the safest place for a child under age 2 is an approved child restraint system or device, not an adult's lap. However, the agency has yet to make a change, adding, for every rule, the FAA is legally required to show that the benefits of the proposal exceed the cost. And in 2005, the FAA said if parents are required to buy another seat, they may opt to drive instead, which agency analysis showed is a statistically more dangerous way to travel.
That is the most absurd argument that I have ever heard. If you want to go see grandma and it's going to mean another couple $100, you're going to find a way to do that and get a ticket for your child.
But Dr. Chuck DeJohn, former president of the Aerospace Medical Association, says the influence of cost cannot be underestimated.
Parents who have young children are often making this decision on the basis of cost. And, they're free to do so. The FAA has not changed the rule, but from a purely safety standpoint, the best choice is to travel with an infant in a child restraint system.
What should the FAA do?
Of course they should mandate that everybody be in a seat. Maybe that might have been the...
Brown says the tragedy she endured will haunt her forever.
That's how I got out.
But she won't rest until she says the friendly skies become friendly for all.
I do this as much for Evan and other lap children as I do it for my flying partners, so they never have to face a mother who's lost her child.
On many international carriers, parents can loosely secure their child with a belly loop belt that wraps around the baby's torso and attaches to the adult seat belt. However, the United States and Canada prohibit this accessory because of its potential injury to an infant's stomach. The FAA has certified a harness-like contraption called the Child Aviation Restraint System, or CARES. CARES is recommended for children weighing 20 to 40 pounds, and it can be used on any window or center seat in the airplane, but not on emergency exit rows.
Still to come, a matter of heart. 2 women with inspiring stories that could make a difference in your health.
Just thanking God every day that I'm still here.
We show you the critical moments after her cardiac arrest and the warning signs you should not ignore.
But first, a new medical specialty is helping adults with childhood heart defects not miss a beat.
It's weird to think that you're someone else's hero.
Plus, how they're helping the next generation of patients.
You can watch Investigate TV Plus anytime, streaming online. Get the app for Roku, Amazon Fire TV, and Apple TV. They're free to download.
According to the Centers for Disease Control, more than 60 million women in the United States are living with some form of heart disease. And in 2021, heart disease was responsible for about 1 in every 5 female deaths.
At a gym in Ohio, a 62-year-old woman nearly joined that statistic after she ignored her symptoms and went to boot camp class.
My chest felt funny, like I had a little bit of a warm feeling, and my left arm just felt kind of achy, tired. Something was off. I didn't feel right, and I just thought, oh, should I go?
Linda Thompson went into cardiac arrest but was brought back to life thanks to some quick thinking at her gym.
We'll get to Linda's story in just a minute, but first, a new mom born with a congenital heart defect, or CHD, is helping the next generation of patients.
Erin Matchett was told at a young age she would never have children because of her heart condition, but an emerging field of health changed that diagnosis.
Reporter Lauren Lowry shows us how doctors at Vanderbilt University are treating adult hearts with childhood heart disease.
Holding her son for the first time is a moment Erin Matchett didn't know if she'd ever have.
My pediatric cardiologist, he was very conservative and definitely told me early that probably was not going to happen for me.
To understand why, you have to go back to her birth.
So I was born, I came out a little bit blue.
Erin is among the 1 in 100 children in the U.S. born with a congenital heart defect, or CHD. It took several surgeries to repair her heart before age 2. And as she grew up, doctors didn't know how pregnancy might impact her as an adult. So Erin asked again.
In a matter of 10 years, that answer changed from no to yes.
Her story is just one of the reasons Dr. Angela Weingarten has helped spearhead a joint program between the pediatric and the adult side of Vanderbilt University Medical Center for adult CHD patients.
The first board exam for adult congenital heart disease was offered in 2015. It's really a brand new field.
Dr. Weingarten says the successful treatment of CHD took off in the 1970s and 80s. It means more of those children grew up, and now they're adults needing programs like the one at Vanderbilt.
I think having someone who understands adult medicine, who understands coronary disease, who understands the things that come when people grow up, and also understand the congenital heart disease piece is really imperative.
Erin has regular monitoring and testing to see how her heart and body are dealing with CHD. She says while it's hard growing up alongside the medicine, she's also thankful for the impact her life may make for another person like her.
It's weird to think that you're someone else's hero. I might get emotional now, but it really is, because these kids are looking to us to see, well, they did that. So I'm hopeful in that, but yeah, it's a little scary at the same time.
Dr. Weingarten says physicians with a joint program at Vanderbilt University also connect with similar programs nationwide so they can work together to provide the best advice for patients like Erin.
Up next, a life on the line.
Just started feeling dizzy, and I just started, everything got foggy, and that's the last thing I remember.
You'll see the critical seconds after she suffered cardiac arrest and the first aid equipment that saved her life.
Then later, a mother inspired by her late son's wish to turn $8 into something priceless.
Jarrett's $8 has definitely been multiplied.
The legacy of hope she's building, one bag at a time.
You can watch Investigate TV Plus anytime online. Just subscribe to our YouTube channel at Investigate TV. You can catch stories and full episodes.
Sudden cardiac arrest is among the leading causes of death in the United States.
The Mayo Clinic says the only way to restore a regular heart rhythm during cardiac arrest is to use an automated external defibrillator, or AED. An AED is a device that sends a shock to the heart. The electric shock can restore a normal rhythm to a heart that stopped beating. To work well, the shock needs to be delivered within minutes. Anyone can buy an AED, and it generally costs between $1,400 and $2,500.
At a gym in Ohio, their investment in an AED helped to save a life after a woman collapsed during class.
Reporter Brian Duffy takes us inside that class as gym members jumped into action.
Very frightening. I'm just thankful to be here.
Linda Thompson's life was in the balance. A fellow boot camper was trying to save her life on a morning that was never normal.
Something was off. I didn't feel right, and I just thought, oh, should I go?
She went, but who knows? Maybe being at the Tillison Fitness Warehouse saved her life.
My chest felt funny, like I had a little bit of a warm feeling, and my left arm just felt kind of achy, tired.
She was low energy. She pushed through her workout.
I just started feeling dizzy, and I just started, everything got foggy, and that's the last thing I remember.
Linda collapsed, Melinda Budd, in the maroon shirt, jumped in to help.
Went over, took her pulse, felt no pulse, kind of took it in a couple different places and no pulse.
Ryan McAllister, a former volunteer firefighter, stepped in. He's in the army green shirt, knew CPR, and he knew the gym had an AED.
Yeah, I could tell she was in cardiac arrest, and we needed to get CPR started right away, and we needed to get that AED pulled off the wall and set up right away.
Gym co-owners Jeanette and Thad Tillison hustled to get the AED, and they attached 2 pads around Linda's heart. McAllister continued compressions. The AED is built to analyze the patient's needs.
With Linda, it advised a shock.
Everyone cleared.
Thad hit the shock button, and just like that, Linda, she flinched and took a deep breath.
No kidding.
It was amazing.
Linda was back.
And I guess they told me, I sat up and I said, well, at least I got you guys out of sled pushes. So, yeah, that's what I remember.
And what she'll never forget is that the family-owned gym, operated by Thad and Jeanette Tillison to have something for everyone, really does, including that expensive AED.
Without the AED, I think the outcome would have been totally different. So to this day, I say that's my best purchase for this gym.
It cost $2,000. Well spent. A life saved.
You look over there at her, and she's talking to her friends, and what goes through you?
It's the best feeling in the world to see her come in here every morning. When she came in this last Friday at 5:30 in the morning and walked through that door, it was breathtaking because she could have been gone.
Do you ever think about how close she came to just...
Yeah, that's the crazy part, how close I came to, not coming back out of this and just thanking God every day that I'm still here.
Thompson's doctors never found out why she went into cardiac arrest. She's since had a pacemaker and defibrillator implanted in her chest. It's important to know how to use that AED, to have it not be the first time you've ever touched it when someone's in trouble.
And look, that is right there an example of why it is so important and so valuable. And just everyone rushing into action so quickly and knowing their roles. Impressive. Saved a life. Really did. All right, you don't have to be certified to use an AED. The Red Cross says there are 7 basic steps when it comes to using one. 1, check unresponsiveness. Secondly, have someone call 911 and retrieve the AED.
You should then open the airway and check for breathing and pulse. Attach the electrode pads, which will then analyze the heart rhythm. And if advised by the AED, say clear, then press the shock button. You can also take a class on AED use and CPR from the American Red Cross. Just go to the Red Cross website at redcross.org.
A mother inspired to create a legacy for her little boy after he made a simple request.
He came to me one day and he said, Mom, I have $8 and would you give it to somebody?
Up next, we show you how his $8 has become a priceless memory.
Our in-depth coverage continues. You can get connected to Investigate TV Plus on all social media platforms.
Emily Allen's son, Jared, was just 7 years old when he drowned in an Arkansas creek.
Emily endured a pain that no parent should ever have to feel, but instead of letting that pain weigh her down, she used it to create something uplifting. Reporter Aaron Dietrich shows us how this mom was inspired by an $8 gift to create a legacy for her son.
I know that he would be very proud.
How do you find joy in the midst of pain? Emily Allen carries that gut-wrenching baggage and tries to unpack it on a daily basis.
Jarrett was, he was 7 years old. He was all boy, loved superheroes, loved balls.
In addition to doting on his little sister, Jarrett had a fondness for society's unwanted.
He loved the homeless people. It just, it really saddened his heart, and he wanted to do what he could to be able to just love on these people. He always would ask, Mom, can we give him money? And I'm like, babe, I don't have cash.
Like most 7-year-olds, Jarrett was persistent.
He came to me one day and he said, Mom, I have $8 and would you give it to somebody? And I said, no, I would rather you give it to somebody, but I'll keep it safe. And so he never got that chance.
2 years ago, the Allens were soaking in a memorable Father's Day weekend when the unthinkable happened on an Arkansas creek.
We were just wading out in the water, and there was a hole. And unfortunately, Jarrett walked right where that hole was, and he went under and got caught up underneath that bridge and ended up drowning.
As Emily mourned, a homeless man on the side of the road caught her eye.
I just felt the Lord say, hey, this gentleman needs that money.
So with Jarrett's $8, Emily was on a mission.
And I tell people, you know, no matter what you're going through, God can turn your mess into a message and your test into a testament, and that's exactly what he's doing.
One $8 bag at a time, the Jarrett 8 Project was born.
Snacks, waters, inflatable pillows, blankets.
The first delivery featured a modest 25 bags. Now with the helping hand from volunteers, thousands of bags have been loaded with essentials and have been handed out to the homeless across Louisiana and Arkansas.
The look on their face is something that you just never forget, because something that we take for granted every day, they're just so appreciative of. Want to keep, you know, his name alive, and just that there are so many people who are nice still out in this world. And Jarrett's $8 has definitely been multiplied, and it's been very amazing and rewarding.
And that's it for us on Investigate TV Plus. I'm Lee Zurich.
And I'm Tisha Powell. Thanks for watching. On the next Investigate TV Plus, there's a shortage of Black doctors across the United States.
In the 2020s, to be a first is very sobering.
We examine diversity in the doctor's office and the efforts to recruit more providers who look like their patients.